everyone, welcome back to the adventure here at John Goes Off-Road. Today I'm kind of explaining what I've been kind of going over on Instagram. So if you've been on Instagram, you've kind of seen me. I've mentioned that I ended up damaging the truck. So that was the biggest thing after Gold Mountain that happened. And it was on something really dumb. We ended up not breaking anything on the trail or getting to the campsite or anything like that. This was going out into the exit of the trail, which kind of bummed me out because it's like not anything you'd think of that got me, you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, we're coming back down. We had just finished Gold Mountain. We ended up camping that night. We ended up coming out about a mile maybe, if not less, back out to the end of the trail. And we end up seeing this hiker that kind of threw me off because my buddy Fernando called out hiker. We all start moving off to the right to kind of give them a little bit of space, but I kind of paid too much attention to that hiker and what they were doing and completely lost sight of what I was doing on my right hand side, even though I was merging over kind of a little bit, giving them a few feet to work with. And when that happened, I ended up bashing that right front side. It completely threw my whole truck off. No lights came on or anything like that, but I could immediately hear like a rubbing type noise, and I was like, man, my truck's done. So we ended up getting out. Nobody sees any differences or anything like that while we're out on the trail going down. Once I get onto concrete, I can definitely tell that instead of my wheel, my left front wheel being straight, my right front wheel was actually tweaked out really far away. Once I got onto the concrete, I heard that rubbing noise get a little bit worse. I felt a vibration in my steering wheel. And then I forgot what else I was feeling, but I ended up bashing in that whole wheel well, so it bashed out my flare, it bashed out like the mud guard that it has in there, so the splash shield or whatever you want to call it. So it bashed that out as well, so that kind of bummed me out, which was a bummer. But at the end of the day, we were able to kind of resolve it by heading out. Once I'd gotten back, you know, into town and stuff like that, I started kind of immediately, you know, thinking of people that might be able to help me. And my buddy Ignacio, who's been my best friend for a very long time, ended up referring me to one of our buddies that actually I totally forgotten, and he worked at a body shop. So we ended up sending out to the body shop, and once we got out to the body shop, he checked it out, looked at it, did a, you know, an alignment, and when he did the alignment, he's like, man, it's not passing, so something's bent. So bummer, because you know, you never know what's going to be bent. Everything looks normal, just that after that the wheel did kind of straighten out just a little bit, but it was so tweaked out. I still had all the problems, essentially leading to a spindle being bent. The control arm was okay, but my gusset for the control arm, the actual like little not spindle gusset, what am I trying to say here? The actual cam tab gusset or cam tab itself had completely blown itself out. The two little tabs that of course sit inside the little where the actually cam tab sits inside, the actual tab itself had broken off. So the problem there being is that now the control arm can move at wherever it really wants to. So what we ended up seeing from there is that without that little tab, the actual cam tab itself won't actually stay inside. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I'll show you guys here in a few moments what that kind of looks like. And unfortunately, with that being said, with the tab being blown out, I could no longer align the vehicle properly. So first things first, they told me, hey, you got to fix that. But if I fixed it normally, it might have been a subframe, or my buddy ended up actually welding a tab on there just to kind of see how it was doing. We realigned it again, it still doesn't pass. So he's like, John, I think it's your spindle. I think that's the first step. It does look tweaked out. It looks a little normal, but it looks tweaked out. So I immediately hit up Kaizen. Big shout out to Kevin out there, and Sean, who actually helped me out with fixing that portion of the actual repairs. So they end up getting me out there very soon, actually. They were backed up for a very long time, but I was so grateful that they made some space here for me and got me in a few days later. They end up doing the cam tab gussets, beefing that up, because, you know, essentially you want to have it beefed up. You're going to be wheeling, you're going to be doing something like that. That's definitely something you might want to take into consideration. So it's something I'd been hearing about, but I just kind of waved off because, you know, it's a lot of money. But at this point, I either reinforce it and spend the right money, or I, you know, get it fixed. And at this time, it probably would have been a Jimmy fix, and it wouldn't have been a good fix. So I thought reinforcing it was definitely the right move. So I end up heading out to Kaizen. They do this, the cam tab gussets, which essentially cost me $500 in labor, $120 in parts. So it's about like 620 and stuff on that side. Mods that you don't really see, but now essentially with that being done, which I'll be showing you guys here in just a few moments, how that looks and how it turned out. I ended up going with Total Chaos cam tab gussets, and they look phenomenal. They look so much beefier. I can for sure tell that the actual cam tab, like alignment tab, is actually going to stay in there. It's pretty locked in there, so I'm probably planning on getting some Bison alignment bolts once that comes in the future to kind of lock it in even more. So that's what happened there. When it came down to the spindle, I ended up, you know, finding out that these spindles are very expensive, and I'd heard about it, but I never really imagined on how expensive these guys got. So I essentially ended up hitting up everyone, and believe it or not, I had totally completely forgotten that I had a set of spindles, I'm sorry, out back that Fernando had left behind. And Fernando was like, dude, I know you're in the need, which was crazy because he just had these as spares. He got them super cheap off of someone that didn't really need them anymore, and he ends up getting them for $200 and said, hey, you know, just even it out. Give me 200 bucks and you can have these. I know it's an emergency, so I know you want to have your truck back. So I'm really thankful to Fernando Bad Moms Yoda, who I'll be linking down below, so you guys can take a look at his rig. But he ended up getting me those spindles, which was an amazing price for 2. So I'm like, okay, so now I have 2. What do I do now? So do I get it? I actually got my timeline messed up, but anyways, I end up going to Fab Zone. I end up getting those 2 spindles getting gusseted by Vaughn over at Fab Zone in San Diego. So I ended up going to visit my buddy Ignacio, who was out there, and I ended up just dropping those off for about a weekend, and he got them turned around really quickly, and I'm very thankful for. He actually worked on a Sunday, which I guess he doesn't really do, so I'm very thankful for that. He moved some stuff around and got me fitted up. So big shout out to Vaughn over there at Fab Zone. He did an amazing job. Those things look sturdier now, which I'll also be showing you guys here in just a few moments. But I actually ended up getting those before, because I was gonna end up doing the actual replacement myself of the spindle gussets and the spindles themselves, but I had no time whatsoever. Everything was so busy, so booked. Life took over, and I ended up actually having, I totally forgot, Kaizen install those as well, which they charged me, I believe, $150, since they were kind of already technically there and had to take some of that stuff off anyways. So they charged me, you know, a little bit, so there was a little bit of overlapping labor. I said 150 bucks, or I sacrifice a day and I don't know when that'll happen, and I don't know when that truck's gonna be finished, or I get them to do it. So I had them do it. It was way more convenient, and big shout out to them because it turned out great. Now both spindles are installed. They're gusseted. They're very strong now. So that actually spindle gusset that Vaughn had actually put on there is actually very sturdy. It goes over a lot of the spindle versus a lot of other companies, which I won't mention, that actually only cover a little bit. In my eyes, I felt like that was the best move, and he actually, like I said, fitted me in. So that was a game changer, 100%. Just being able to be fitted in, which right now, if you guys, I'm sure, know that getting a shop to install things, or just parts to get installed yourself, have been a nightmare throughout this whole COVID pandemic. So that's been a major game changer as far as like getting my truck up and down. So after shortly getting everything installed and stuff, the truck drove off, and all these lights turned on, which kind of was a bummer, but I ended up going to Toyota. I have them diagnose it, and they ended up finding that the actual, what am I trying to say here? They ended up finding that the actual steering angle sensor was off, and my alignment was still off. So by then, of course, I just installed everything. I was gonna go get an alignment anyways, but I wanted to figure this light stuff out first. So prior to going to Toyota, I went out to Firestone, which unfortunately, you know, they didn't really leave it off too well. The steering wheel was still off. So, you know, shout out to them in a sense, because they still fitted me in as well, but it just wasn't there, and the lights were still on. So I thought it might have cleared. That's never really the case, but at least I tried to clear it on my own. And by then I ended up heading out to Toyota, and then when Toyota ended up you know, looking at it, they saw the steering angle sensor way off, and they had to calibrate it. But in order to calibrate it, they had to have my alignment specs on the money. So they ended up recommending I do an alignment there with them because it won't work. So I ended up doing the alignment, and they left it on the money. I actually have a buddy who worked at that dealership. He was just off that day, and he told me that the guy that actually did it owns a lifted Lexus GX, and he also has a lifted Silverado. So I was kind of lucky that a guy like that ended up getting my vehicle and just leaving my alignment on the money. So I was super stoked on that, and you know, it just really worked out. So at the end of it, it was very stressful. It honestly kept me off of Instagram. It kept me off of doing everything because I'm, you know, calling people, waiting for people's answers, and, you know, everybody, you know, it takes a little while because life is just very busy. So, you know, it takes days sometimes to get replies. Sometimes it takes, you know, more than a few days, and you're kind of just sitting there and just waiting for all this to kind of happen. So big shout out to everybody, because I think the turnaround would have been a lot longer if I didn't really find the right people. So big shout out to Kaizen, big shout out to FabZone, big shout out to the folks over at Toyota that ended up helping me out, Salvador the Tech, Ignacio for recommending all these people to me. And yeah, I didn't know I just rambled off for about 11 minutes. So I think what's going to end up happening is I'm going to show you guys in between snippets of what happened. So I hope you watched that, and I hope you enjoyed all of that. So that way you guys can get an idea of what kind of happens when you're off-roading. So it wasn't a big one. Unfortunately, it was a small one, and it's the small ones that get you sometimes because you're not watching out for those guys. And I never recommend going over any type of rock, small or big, because it'll feel terrible. And so yeah. Thank you guys so much for continuing to watch these videos. I really appreciate it. It's been a game changer, and unfortunately this repair itself has kept me off of YouTube for a very, very long time. I tried to put one out in the, you know, while my truck was being repaired and stuff, and that one was kind of a bummer. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed. Thank you guys so much for keeping watch, for continuing to watch this channel. I really appreciate you guys so much, and I hope to see you guys soon. So please subscribe, like the video, comment, you know, what you guys are feeling out there throughout this COVID-19 pandemic. Are you guys stuck? Are you guys not getting your parts on time? Because I know that's a big issue right now. Are you even getting to a shop on time because of that reason? You have to line all these things up, and it's just kind of a little frustrating that it's just mods, but you want to have them on there, and I know we're all impatient. So thank you guys so much again. Please subscribe, comment, like the video. Do everything you guys do here on YouTube. Until next time, thank you guys so much.